Hello, lovely guests and my viewers, as well as my audience. You're welcome to the Association of African Universities, which is based here in Accra, Ghana. And as part of our celebration today, which is the African Union, we are going to have a lovely discussion which is centered around the theme for today. And with that, we are talking about the role of the youth in fighting malnutrition. You know, we are going to make it very interactive where I would involve my guest as well as my audience. So I'll just give a minute to my lovely guests to introduce themselves. I'll start from the lady.
Hello. Yeah. Hello. Okay, please, my name is Mabel Obeng, a level 300 student of University of Professional Studies, Accra.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm also in the person of Samuel Odartey Lamptey. I'm at the University of Ghana Medical School. I'm reading medicine, and it's a very brilliant opportunity to share my views on the subjects of the day. I'm hoping that we'll have very fruitful and very forward and progressive discussions, and would endeavor that you would offer us your support in any kind as we progress in finding solutions to some of these problems in Africa. Thank you.
Okay, you are both welcome. And then don't also forget to follow us on our social media handles. Association of African Universities on Facebook and YouTube, AAUTV_African Universities on Twitter, and AAUTV official on Instagram. So we'll go straight to our discussion for today. And then, as we all know, we are discussing the role of the youth in fighting malnutrition. So let's kick start. Before then, according to WHO, which is the World Health Organization, young children and pregnant women are most vulnerable to malnutrition. What accounts for this? What do you think is the problem? Let me not start from you.
All right, thank you. So the issue of malnutrition can be looked at in three perspectives.
Okay.
When an individual is said to be malnourished, it means that you do not have access to adequate amounts of nutrients, number one. Your body cannot make use of the nutrients available.
Okay.
And you have excess of it. So if you have it in lower than necessary, quantities, you are malnourished. If you have it more than necessary, it is a problem. And if you have it in adequate quantities, but your body cannot make proper use of it, then it means that it's also a problem. Wow. So these are the three perspectives we can look at malnourishment from. Okay. Now, the thing about pregnant women is that when you are pregnant, all it means is that you have another individual living within your body. Mm-hmm. Some people see that pregnancy is basically having a human parasite living within you. Okay. So by virtue of that fact, it means that your nutritional requirements would rise. And that is one reason why pregnant women would always have a problem with nutritional requirements, because this time the focus is not just the women in question, but the individual or the other organism, which is also a human being living within them. Yes, so that is one of the reasons that pregnant women would have, malnourishment issues.
Maybe would you want to add something?
Yeah, just like what he said with the pregnant women, that even when we come to Ghana here, when you are pregnant, there are certain food stuff that you are not supposed to take. Yeah, and so if you are not supposed to take certain food, that means you'll be centered to some particular food, and hence you wouldn't get access to certain protein and other nutrient-rich food.
Okay, all right. So it's like your eating becomes a one-way. Let me put it that way.
Yes.
Okay. So with that, what are some of the causes of malnutrition in Africa?
Okay. So with the causes of malnutrition, with the pregnant women side, I think when they give birth, there are times that the kids, the children, are mostly likely to suffer as a result of the parents not taking all the food stuff that he or she is supposed to take. Yeah, so I think the children really suffer from that.
From the mother.
Yes.
So one of the major causes of malnutrition is obviously poverty, because we are talking about food. In our parts of the world, the issue of the excess is not really a problem. There are people who find who are obese, which is also one of the indicators of malnutrition. However, the main challenge in our part of the world is poverty. Some of the causes could also include conflicts, when there are wars, you don't necessarily have access to food because of obvious reasons, there's wars in the community. So, whenever the issue of malnutrition is being discussed, it goes hand in hand with poverty, especially in Africa. So, these are some of the factors that cause malnutrition in our parts of the world.
Okay. Please, as and when we want to get interactive with our audience, kindly feel free to alert me if you want to give your submissions. Thank you. Okay, Mabel, I see you want to say something.
In Africa here, there is a rise in our economy.
Okay.
Like, things are so expensive, and getting fruits to buy is even expensive. So if we are not able to afford these things, it actually leads to malnutrition.
Okay. Let me come to you, Lamudat. How vital is agriculture to curbing malnutrition in Africa?
Okay, I think that's a very brilliant one. So the whole agriculture thing basically is about food and crop production.
Yes.
And it's important for us to look at that aspect because essentially agriculture is what gives us food. And to that effect, food security.
Okay.
One of the reasons I mentioned poverty and the fact that war has also contributed to the whole menace of malnutrition is because when these two problems persist, it's almost impossible to harvest and cultivate crops because the presence of wars and conflicts and all of that, you cannot always do to farm. And when we discuss agriculture as far as these concepts are concerned, we are looking at agriculture in the 21st century, agriculture in 2022, which has revolutionized, which has moved away from the traditional ways and practices to the adoption of machines and more mechanized things, which obviously produces better results, which obviously produces more yield. And that leads to higher food security for us. So when we have conversations on malnutrition, we can almost never do away with the discussion of agriculture. Just like poverty is linked to malnutrition. Food is definitely linked to malnutrition. Agriculture is what produces. So when we are discussing malnutrition, we definitely need to talk about agriculture and look at the impact that agriculture has on food. In fact, you realize that when you go to rural areas where the inhabitants are primarily involved in farming or agriculture, they live very long. They do not look very healthy by our standards, but they live very long. Some people assume that it's because they've been working very hard and manual, which is also a fair argument to some extent. But truly, they have abundance of food. And when you go to, for example, in Ghana, certain regions like Ghana, Africa, Ashanti region, the true rural areas, they complain of inadequate access to things like electricity, water, but food has not really been a problem. If anything, it is conserving the food that we produce, conserving the problem, which I think we discuss as we progress in this conversation.
Let's come down to our youth. Since this is a student program, I want us to talk about how the youth could help or how to build the youth interest in agriculture as a step in fighting malnutrition. What do you think the youth can do to help us fight malnutrition? Mabel.
Thank you so much for the question. I think the youth in Ghana, let me use Ghana because you're in Ghana, we are not really concentrating much on agriculture, and that's a very bad habit. And I think if we concentrate, we are just dependent on the white collar jobs, and that one too is not paying us well. And if we are to focus on agriculture, and if every youth in Ghana is to purchase a piece of land, even if it's an acre, I think when we grow something, definitely if you sow something, it will definitely germinate. Okay, so I think the youth should take interest in agriculture and should plant.
Let me get a bit personal here with you, Mabel. Do you have any, do you aspire to do that in the nearby future? Do agriculture or something like that?
Okay. Yeah, fortunately, I have two pieces of lands. One in my hometown, one in my sister's hometown. Just that I haven't really done anything yet. Yeah, so they are far from me. You are here. Yeah, so I think when I definitely complete, when I'm done as well, I'll definitely take.
That's interesting. You'd like to add something?
Yeah, definitely. So I think that's not long ago, 2000 we did a program on how to, I think we have some funding opportunities available for startups.
Okay.
And I had a team that worked on a project which was aimed at fighting essentially we had here. But 10% of the Ghanaian population is quite insecure. So we're looking at ways where we could, bridge that gap, we could get the nutritional demand of just 10% that was the question. And we looked at coming up with a platform because obviously we are in an era where almost every country is digitalized. So we're looking at testing a platform that will more or less release funds from corporate institutions, not only in the countries, but across the world, so that we will be able to have a system in place that is fulfilling to people who have been able to demonstrate some of their aspects. The reason I'm referencing this program is because it afforded thousands of young men and women in the country the opportunity to come up with a plan like this that they feel is a way to tackle hunger, poverty. When you look at the US, the fast rising European countries, you realize a lot of investment has gone into the young. No offense to the elder generation, but young people understand, have a better understanding of current systems, have a better appreciation of how things work than older people. It's pure facts. That young people have a better understanding of situation. So, in that same way, we will have conversations around agriculture. I think that while we grow up, the kind of education you see, that's what really highlights the financial potentials in entering agriculture. Because, like I said earlier, we have a certain impression of what farming is like. When you see in textbook, someone is carrying some hand in their hair, the cutlass. It doesn't make it very nice for you to enter. Yes. And people can start from that level. When we give the necessary education, when we let people realize that things are not what they were like past 50 years ago, what agriculture was not what it is anymore, then the youth will now see the potential. If we are able to get to the point where we are able to raise enough capital and enough equipment to generate cash crops, coffee like cashew. I mean, in Ghana, it's not a culture. I mean, in the West, almost everybody has the coffee to start their day. It's not a culture here. But if we are able to produce enough quantities, I don't think that's the issue of exporting something that we cannot even do that. So the youth can now begin to look at the potential, the financial potential, because all those presentations are still the financial potential in a field like agriculture. How we can adopt modern strategies, how we can adopt digitalization, how we can adopt tech to boost the activity, and that's why I think these are conversations that we can have with the young people of our generation.
Okay, so with your submission, do you think that the youth actually has what it takes to fight against malnutrition, and maybe not the older people? What do you think about that? The youth and the older people, which group is more,
I like to think of this whole problem as something that we can collectively fight.
Okay.
in that, yes, like I said, the young people of today have a better appreciation of how systems work. But the older generation also have been in the system for long.
Exactly.
They can provide insights from a perspective that young people may not necessarily be able to perceive. But as has been demonstrated by several of these programs, when you meet young people who are energized, who are enthused, and have necessary education in certain fields, they've been able to demonstrate innovation in so many ways. Today, there are people who are coming up with all sorts of tech inventions, people who are coming up with all sorts of applications, you know, and these are things that are aimed at making life even better. And making life even better means that we can also look at it in the field of agriculture, in the field of nutrition, to make life better for us. So yes, definitely the youth have what it takes. The education we've received, the exposure that we have today, access to the internet and what is happening in other people's countries has empowered the youth, has exposed the youth to what they need in order to come up with, you know, innovations that we can adopt to improve our lives and, of course, agriculture and nutrition in the country.
All right. Maybe would you want to add something?
Yeah. To add up to what he said, I think the older generation has the experience, and we, the youth, have the tools, the technological ideas as to how to go about it. So I think if we collaborate and then work towards it, we'll be able to achieve what we want.
Okay. You know, there is a question here from there's a question here from a research which says that Sustainable Development Goals, which is the SDG Goal 2, aims to achieve zero hunger by 2030. The official word of the SDG Goal 2 is to end hunger, achieve food security, and improve nutrition and promote sustainable culture. How do you think we can, you know, achieve this at the long run? And with that.
Okay, so the program I mentioned earlier on actually was focused on the SDGs. And when you look at the SDGs, I think the first one was highlighting on zero poverty and zero hunger. So zero hunger is more or less a consequence of zero poverty. Because once we have been able to eradicate poverty, or once we've been able to financially equip people, now the capacity to afford food will be there. And so we'll be able to end hunger. Now, the thing about ending hunger is that we should try and make food cheap.
Okay.
We obviously have to put money in people's pockets. We obviously have to make people rich. But one other way we can achieve this is by making food cheap. In fact, one of the indicators of any good economy is the price of food. The moment you begin to realize that the price of food is skyrocketing, then it calls for alarm. And the price of food usually is a consequence of availability, scarcity. If we don't have measures in place to retain the food that we are producing, then it means that food is going to get spoiled. And once food spoilage comes into the equation, then we are looking at food shortages. And once food shortages become, an issue, then the businessmen now try to make the most of it, and the price of food begins to skyrocket. So one way that we can try to make reduce the hunger situation in the country and the continent at large is by looking at ways where we can reduce shortage of food by putting in place systems that retain food production, systems that preserve food, which would in the end not lead to the shortage, and then now we can tackle the no hunger situation.
Mabel.
Okay, so I think if we grow more food crops, it will reduce hunger. And like I said, right now people are just pulling down trees and all to build houses. If by 2030 all the lands are houses, what are we going to eat? Definitely we are going to live on hunger. So I think if we grow more crops, we will be able to harvest at the end of the day.
Okay, so at this point, I'll take a few questions or submissions from my audience. Okay, please, can I get a microphone, please?
Yeah. Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm from the older generation.
Okay.
So I have a suggestion for how the youth could help combat malnutrition.
Okay.
What I was thinking is malnutrition is also depend on what you eat.
Yes.
Therefore, I would advise you not to 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 go to the fast food.
Okay.
To eat the right food.
Okay.
That's my contribution to the younger generation.
Okay.
Now, to another effect, you have not come back to it clearly, is I think that malnutrition can be looked also at the effect of climate changes.
Okay.
You know, it brings drought, and now
Yes.
you know in the north of Ethiopia now you will see on TV nothing to eat.
Yeah.
Don't even think of quantity. It's not the quantity that matters,
Yeah.
it's what you eat.
Yes,
You may
yes.
have more, but if you eat junk food, you know what it is. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Please, any other? Okay. Okay.
Can I?
Yes, please.
Yes, okay, thank you very much. My name is Noruddin Mohammed. I took the advice of the Secretary General during
Okay.
his speech to reflect on such a day when Africa is celebrating the struggles of those who came before us. In reflecting, what came to mind is how many years since independence, in the case of Ghana, we are still talking about malnutrition. On a day like this, shouldn't we be talking about artificial intelligence? Shouldn't we be talking about things that will happen 5 years, 2023, 2025? Since my childhood, we've been sitting in seminars talking about this. Everything you've mentioned there as causes of malnutrition has its roots in corruption. And a lot of time when we are seated with our adults, we find it difficult to tell them in the face. The older generation have failed us. I'm considering myself as a youth. I'm not sure even if I'm a youth. I'm 40 plus. I'm not sure if I'm a youth. But the truth of the matter is, look, the older generation have failed this generation. And it is about time the youth begin to call a spade a spade. I think in one of such gatherings in the African Union, people were advised, or the leaders advised that, look, there should be no discussion around mismanagement or... Look, when a political leader steals, he's stolen. Let's call him a thief. And it's about time we begin to shame. It is true that the people can stop some of these activities that will provide a better future for our youth. For me, well, I ask myself, why are we sitting here talking about malnutrition 2022? It's sad, honestly. So that's just my submission. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I have a little contribution to add to this concerning how the youth can also contribute. I remember when I was in school, that's the old system.
Okay.
We used to do agric. I did agric personally, and it was a subject that I loved so much.
Wow.
And you can imagine most of the awards I took them because I got myself so much into it, and I even wanted to pursue it further. But due to one or two reasons, I had to divert to something else.
Okay.
But what I want to say is that if we're able to bring it back into the curriculum, I think it will help. Because if you don't do that, just as the gentleman up there says, when you talk about farming, you see farmers going to the farm, carrying things and all. But the thing is, when you talk about the food chain business, there are so many levels.
Yeah.
Okay, it starts right from the farming, from buying, selling, adding value to it, storage and all. So the question now is, when you go back to our farm producing areas, do we have some of these facilities to store the things that come up? If we don't, as a youth, nothing will push me to the world to go into farming. Okay. So the levels are different. Okay, the government has its part to play. We, the citizenry, also have our part to play. Okay. If the political will is there, we get warehouses, we get irrigation facilities there, we have extension services here and there. We have so many roles to get our youth to come on board. I believe this will become very attractive for the youth of today, and most of us will go into farming. And always, when we are talking about farming, we should not always think only about having 10 acres, 50 acres. Our backyards, what are we doing? For instance, when you come to my place, my home, for instance, I have all kinds of things. There are times I just sit and then I laugh. I have noni there. I have noni, I have cocoa, I have coconuts, I have plantain, I have ginger. Whatever I feel like planting, I go for it and I plant. So I think we have to start from there, and then the interest will build up. Thank you.
All right. Okay. So any other? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I want to talk about knowledge or information. You see, we are trying to fight malnutrition as youth. But then when you look at the youth right now, what we gear our energy towards is the ladies, they go into beautician, the guys will be going to funny movies and stuff. Now, when you look at Ghana, for instance, the youth of the country, nobody is talking about agriculture. If somebody gets a camera or something and wants to do Facebook or whatever channel, it's either funny, something else. If it's a lady, if it's not working, it's makeups and stuff. So the quest to fight for malnutrition is only on the old generation. Because back in the days, they were more into agriculture and they decided to fight it since there. But we are more technology and social media. So I think the best way we can fight it is push the knowledge of agriculture, information about climate change, nutrition, everything into the youth, so that as the youth come up, they will begin to gear their energy towards farming, agriculture, and what have you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. It's been a very interesting conversation, and thank you to my guests for coming, and thank you to my audience for making the show a very lovely one. And don't forget, we spoke about the role of the youth in fighting malnutrition, and my name is Jemima Daladem Doche. Don't also forget to follow us on our social media handles: Association of African Universities on Facebook and YouTube, AAUTV_African Universities on Twitter, and AAUTV Official on Instagram. Thank you very much.